This Tibetan Buddhist nun lived in a cave in Tibet for 12 long years. The Tibetan Buddhist nun spent 12 years, including 3 completely alone, in a remote Himalayan cave on her path to enlightenment and mental clarity. If given the option right now between a lifetime of continued friendship and seclusion, Palmo knows without a doubt which she would choose. Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, previously known as Diane Perry, was born on June 30, 1943 in Woolmers Park, Hertfordshire. She was up in a family where spiritualist meetings were conducted, but it wasn't until she was 18 years old that she realized she was a Buddhist after reading a book at the library on the subject. She relocated to India at age 20, where she spent a few months teaching English at the young Lama's home school before running into the 8th Khamtrul Rinpoche, her root Lama. She received the name Drugyu Tenzin Palmo, or Glorious Lady who upholds the doctrine of the practice succession, in 1964, becoming only the second Western woman to be ordained in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. In the Tibetan tradition, where the Bhikshuni Sangha has ceased to exist, the ordination was as a Shramanarika or novice nun, the highest degree of ordination now possible for women. But Tenzin Palmo, one of the first Western women to do so, gained full Bhikshuni ordination in Hong Kong in 1973 with the help of her instructor. Tenzin Palmo had first-hand knowledge of the prejudice that prevented women from accessing knowledge that was freely given to males, since she lived at Khamtrul Rinpoche's monastery as the only nun among 100 monks. She was eager to learn and found it frustrating that gender stereotypes prevented her from participating in most monastery activities. However, this stage lasted for 6 years. Then, on her instructor's advice, Tenzin Palmo left the monastery, and travelled to Lahore in the Indian Himalayas, where she ultimately entered the cave and began a continuous period of rigorous spiritual practice. Tenzin Palmo started living in a cave in the Himalayas that was 10 feet broad and 6 feet deep in 1976. She stayed there for 12 years, of which 3 were spent in complete seclusion. On the boundary of Himachal Pradesh and Tibet, the cave was located high in the isolated Lahore region of the Indian Himalayas. She cultivated her own food during the retreat and engaged in intense meditation based on the teachings of the Buddha. She slept for only 3 hours a night in a traditional wooden meditation box in a contemplative position, never laying down as per protocol. To much worse circumstances, she spent the last 3 years of her practice entirely alone in the cave. She even endured snowfall, and temperatures below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius, for 6 to 8 months of the year. Finally, in 1988, Tenzin Palmo came out of the cave and proceeded to Italy, since she had to leave India due to visa issues. Tenzin Palmo has devoted her time since her isolation to promoting the cause of Buddhist nuns having equal access to opportunity. She traveled extensively for several years, gathering money for a new Buddhist nunnery, as her root Lama instructed, to support this. To provide education and training to women from Tibet and the border areas of the Himalayas, the Dongyu Gatsul Ling Nunnery was established in 2000. Tenzin Palmo also hopes to re-establish the defunct lineage of Togdanmas, a Drukpa Kagyu Yogini order, at this nunnery. Tenzin Palmo is one of the 6 people who make up the Committee of Western Bhikshunis, a group of senior Western nuns who are advised by 2 Taiwanese monks, then Bhikshuni Hengqing Shi, a professor of philosophy at Taiwan National University, Gelongma Ordination 1975 in San Francisco, and then Bhikshuni Wu Yin, a Vinaya master. The Dalai Lama advised Bhikshuni Jampat Sedran that Western Bhikshunis ought to be more actively involved in establishing Bhikshuni ordination in the Tibetan tradition. This led to the formation of the organization in the autumn of 2005. Tenzin Palmo received the honorary title of Jetsunma, Reverend Lady, on February 16, 2008, from the head of the Drukpa lineage. The 12th Gyalwang Drukpa/Gyalwang Drukpa, the 12th Gyalwang Drukpa, in recognition of her accomplishments as a nun in terms of spiritual development and her work to advance the status of female practitioners in Tibetan Buddhism. Her 12 years of isolation reportedly paid off well, as she was able to share her knowledge and her compassion in her teachings. Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo last year announced her retirement and would no longer continue the conduct, teachings and talk in person. But she will continue her activities at Dongyu Gatsal Ling Nunnery, which is approximately 48 kilometers southeast of Dharamsala, India.